One person was killed and dozens of others were injured in a horrific tragedy in June of 2017 when a speeding car struck a barrier on the Tumai Expressway in Shinshiro, Japan. The vehicle went airborne, flew over the median, and collided with the front of a packed tourist bus. Harrowing footage captured by the bus's dashcam showed the sedan flying straight toward the vehicle's windshield immediately before the crash, which sent the bus rolling into a ditch. The car's driver, identified by police as a 62-year-old doctor named Masamitsu Aikuma, died at the scene. 45 people on the bus, who were en route to a cherry-picking outing, suffered non-life-threatening injuries, including fractures and bleeding head wounds. Many of them waited for help in a nearby restaurant, although some were too injured to walk and the driver was trapped in his seat. An employee who provided ice for the victims' wounds later told reporters that many of the bus passengers were covered in shattered glass when they walked in. In the meantime, a cleanup crew was sent to the accident scene, where they had to use a crane to remove the crushed car from the wreck site. Authorities never revealed what they believe caused Aikuma to lose control of his vehicle. Number 19. Ting E. Shortly before 5 a.m. one morning in September of 2023, a Porsche was captured on video as it sped past traffic cameras in Bellevue, Washington. The driver, 26-year-old Ting E, was reportedly drunk behind the wheel when she lost control of the vehicle and struck a barrier at full speed, causing the vehicle to overturn and land upside down in a ditch. Based on tire marks and other evidence at the scene, investigators estimated that the car was traveling at over 90 miles per hour when it crashed in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. A passenger who was riding in E's car, 27-year-old Yabao Liu, died at the scene. Meanwhile, emergency responders noticed the smell of alcohol as they removed E from the driver's seat. After being treated for her injuries at a nearby hospital, the young woman was released without the police being notified. An acquaintance drove her over the Canadian border to Vancouver, British Columbia, where she caught a flight to China less than a week later. When E failed to show up at her arraignment for vehicular homicide, authorities issued a warrant for her arrest. In addition to the lack of an extradition treaty between the United States and China, the two countries have a rocky relationship that has become increasingly strained in recent years. These tensions don't show any signs of easing in the near future, making it highly unlikely that Yi will be forced to return to America to face her criminal case. Number 18. Cheryl Doon. An elderly woman died and an entire family was left homeless when the senior citizen lost control of her car and crashed into their Missouri home in July of 2023. 73-year-old Cheryl Doon was behind the wheel of the car that struck the residence in St. Louis County at an estimated speed of 100 miles per hour. Surveillance footage captured by a neighbor's camera showed the vehicle going airborne before it collided with the house at around 2:30 in the afternoon. According to the local sheriff's office, Doon veered off the road and struck an embankment before striking two homes, one of which was severely damaged. The car struck the front steps of Annie Wheeler's house before crashing straight into the living room of her neighbor, Veronica Schoettel, who lived at the rented home with four other household members. Schoettel told local station KMOV that she and the other adult residents were sitting at a table discussing politics when the wreck occurred. While her neighbor's young son was on a bed in the room that got hit, Doyen's car moved the bed and came to rest just inches from the boy's head, but everyone in the house miraculously escaped injury. The property was condemned due to the damage while experts worked to determine whether the house was fixable. Schoettel told reporters that the home was a total loss, giving her family no choice but to restart their lives from scratch. Neighbors along Schoettel's street, Kingston Drive, described a troubling history of car accidents and vehicles hitting houses, including multiple bus crashes. There are few stop signs and traffic lights along the road, resulting in a tendency for drivers to speed. Speaking with WGN9, community member Brian Harrison reported seeing 4 crashes over the span of a single year. Debbie Glyforst, who lives just blocks away from Schoettel's residence, had been hit by a bus earlier that year. Her home still had visible damage when she spoke with reporters. Glyforst speculated that drinking and drug use are factors in the excessive speeding that takes place along the street. At the time of Doyen's deadly accident, local authorities were planning a major road resurfacing project which included Kingston Drive. Community officials invited the public to share their input at a meeting regarding the possible implementation of new safety features in hopes of reducing the number of wrecks that occur along the road. According to the most recent available updates on Doyen's crash, investigators were still working to determine the cause of the accident. It was believed that a medical emergency may have caused her to lose control of her vehicle. Number 17. Anders Wickoff. In the country of Finland, speeding fines are determined based on the driver's income under the nation's day fine system. For a wealthy businessman named Anders Wickoff, the amount was calculated at nearly $130,000. Wickoff is one of Finland's richest citizens. The multimillionaire was driving along a rural road called the Järsavägen in the Åland Islands in 2023 when he was caught speeding at 50 miles per hour in a 30 mile per hour zone. He told local reporters that he knew he was over the speed limit, which changed suddenly, and that he was trying to slow down, but that he apparently didn't do it soon enough to avoid a citation. Wickoff told the Nya Åland newspaper that he really regrets the matter, although it wasn't his first time incurring a large speeding penalty. In 2018, he was fined nearly $68,000. 5 years earlier, he was hit with a $102,000 fine, amounting to roughly $300,000 in fines over the span of a decade. But instead of complaining about these sky-high penalties, Wickoff said after his most recent speeding fine that he hoped the money would be put to good use. Number 16. Lead-footed Florida teen's hard-learned lesson. Florida drivers are known for putting the pedal to the metal, but law enforcement does what it can to combat excessive speeding. One Sunshine State teenager lived up to this reputation in August of 2023 when he was clocked at 132 miles per hour along Interstate 4 in Orange County. Body cam footage showed Corporal Greg Ritka confronting the adolescent driver about his dangerously fast driving. In the video, Ritka could be heard asking the young man whose car he was driving and telling him to call his father immediately. During the conversation, Ritka got on the phone and instructed the teen's dad to come pick up his son. As he wrote the high schooler a ticket, he made it abundantly clear that an adult would have likely gone to jail for reckless driving if they were caught traveling at such a high speed. After the boy's parents arrived at the scene, Ritka could be heard telling them about another local teenager who died several years earlier after losing control of his car at a similar speed and crashing into a tree. In addition to being required to attend court over the matter, the driver was fined over $1,100. Number 15. Martha Lopez and Tanya Solace. During what began as a routine traffic stop for speeding in Casa Grande, Arizona in May of 2022, a police canine detected the presence of drugs in an SUV, resulting in the discovery of over 500,000 fentanyl pills hidden inside collagen supplement bottles. The vehicle, driven by a 31-year-old Martha Lopez, also contained a gun and a large amount of cash. Lopez and one of her passengers, 30-year-old Tanya Solace, were booked into custody on suspicion of possession, transportation, and importation of narcotic drugs for sale. And because there were 2 juveniles in the SUV at the time, the women were also hit with child endangerment charges. Following the arrests, Solace's mother told Fox 10 that her daughter had been spending a lot of time with Lopez and frequently making trips over the border to Mexico. She was clearly hurt by her daughter's actions as she wondered out loud why Solace felt a need to commit the crimes that she was accused of, adding, "I have a lot of things to tell her, and she had everything that she needed." The outcome of the case is unclear. Number 14. Samantha Ann Neber. During what began as a routine patrol shift in March of 2023, a police officer in Coral Springs, Florida, tried to pull over the driver of a speeding Nissan Versa which was clocked at 65 miles per hour. He pulled up to the vehicle at a red light and activated his cruiser lights, then gave the driver an opportunity to find a place to pull over once the light turned green. Later identified as 25-year-old Samantha Ann Neber, the driver stopped in a right-hand turning lane, then began driving again before the officer could exit his patrol car. She drove slowly at first, giving the officer the impression that she was still looking for a place to pull over, but she failed to stop, ignoring repeated orders from the officer's loudspeaker. Neber sped up as she continued to drive, reaching speeds of up to 70 miles per hour as she drove recklessly and passed multiple cars. The officer lost sight of the vehicle and put out an alert on Neber's vehicle, which was located at her residence in neighboring Palm Beach County. More than a month after the high-speed pursuit, the woman was booked into the Broward County Jail on felony charges of aggravated fleeing and eluding and fleeing the scene with disregard for the safety of others. During the same week as the police chase, Neber was arrested in Boca Raton for allegedly accusing a man of kidnapping his own child. Police found her SUV parked outside a nearby residence and spoke with the homeowner, who said they didn't know Neber and that they wanted her car off their property. According to law enforcement, Neber was inside the SUV and refused to exit even when the police threatened to smash her window. Responding officers ended up breaking two of the vehicle's windows before they were able to extract Neber, who was charged with trespassing, resisting arrest and disturbing the peace. The current status of Neber's legal troubles is unclear. Number 13. Cameron Jones. 29-year-old Cameron Jones and his fiancée, 25-year-old Demi Lee Mabbitt, were driving in the Welsh town of Merthyr Tydfil during a night out in early April of 2023 when Jones lost control of his Audi and crashed at a high speed. Emergency responders found Mabbitt clinging to life and rushed her to the hospital, where she succumbed to her injuries a week later. Jones was nowhere to be found at the scene of the wreck, but the evidence suggested that he may have been badly hurt. He was initially classified as a missing person before investigators concluded that he had fled on purpose and was evading law enforcement. Police reclassified him as a wanted fugitive and a known dangerous offender and warned the public not to approach him. More than 2 weeks after the deadly collision, authorities captured Jones and arrested two people who helped him hide from the law. In June of 2024, he pleaded guilty to one count of causing death by driving while uninsured. According to the most recent available updates on the case, he's currently awaiting sentencing. Number 12. Catastrophic Canadian car wreck. At least 3 people were hospitalized late one night in March of 2023 after a car sped through a red light in Victoria, British Columbia, and slammed into a pickup truck, throwing a truck across the intersection and straight into a public bus. The front end of the bus was heavily damaged, but none of the passengers were seriously injured. 2 pedestrians narrowly avoided being struck by debris before rushing to the accident scene to check on those involved. Emergency responders arrived to find the car engulfed in flames. 2 people were extracted from the vehicle with minor injuries, while the pickup truck driver suffered serious and possibly life-altering injuries. Investigators collected a blood sample from the driver of the car to determine whether intoxication played a role in the wreck, but it's unclear if the driver was criminally charged. Number 11. Fatal Florida crash claims 4 victims. In April of 2024, a sheriff's deputy in Bradford County, Florida, spotted a Honda SUV that had been reported stolen out of Gainesville hours earlier. After noticing that there were several people in the vehicle, he called for backup and continued to follow the SUV. Once backup arrived, an attempt was made to pull the vehicle over. The driver slowed down as if he planned to cooperate, then sped off, leading law enforcement on a high-speed chase at speeds of over 110 miles per hour. Unable to keep up with the SUV, deputies eventually called off the pursuit while a Florida state trooper continued to chase after the vehicle. The trooper attempted to stop the SUV using a highly risky technique known as a pit maneuver, which is meant to disable a car by causing it to spin out. But the maneuver didn't go as planned and the vehicle rolled over and slammed into a concrete utility pole. 2 of the SUV's occupants were pronounced dead at the scene. 2 other young men, Jabril Shevers and Lawrence McClendon Jr., were rushed to a hospital where they tragically succumbed to their injuries. Number 10. Chase Jones. 18-year-old Chase Jones of Kent, Washington, was driving at a speed later described by a judge as suitable for a NASCAR track when his Audi T-boned a minivan in March of 2024, killing a 38-year-old mother and 3 teenagers. It was his third time totaling a car in a speeding-related wreck in less than a year, resulted in the young man's arrest on 4 counts of homicide and 1 count of reckless driving. Jones was reportedly traveling at 112 miles per hour when he caused the deadly 3-car pileup, which claimed the lives of Andrea Hudson, Buster Brown, and sisters Eloise and Matilda Wilcoxon. The victims died instantly from blunt force injuries, while 2 other passengers survived with severe injuries, and the driver of the 3rd car involved in the crash sustained minor injuries. Jones broke multiple bones in his arms and legs during the wreck. He pleaded not guilty from his hospital bed during his arraignment hearing, which was conducted over video chat. The judge banned him from driving, set bail at $100,000, and ordered him to wear an ankle monitor if he managed to post bail. During the hearing, the father of the Wilcoxon sisters urged the judge not to go easy on Jones. He admitted that he had no evidence to prove his claims, but that he was confident he had seen the defendant driving recklessly on multiple occasions leading up to the fatal collision. Meanwhile, the defense argued that Jones wasn't intentionally committing a crime, and that he made a dumb mistake, despite his documented history of reckless driving. The accused killer's family posted bail shortly after the hearing, and the case appears to be ongoing. Number 9. Carolyn Potier. Deputies in Volusia County, Florida, were shocked to discover 2 unrestrained children inside a woman's car during a traffic stop in April of 2022. 25-year-old Carolyn Potier had been clocked at 91 miles per hour in a 50-mile-per-hour zone at around midnight when she was pulled over. The kids were fast asleep without safety seats in the vehicle's front and back passenger seats, and Potier wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Potier reportedly told law enforcement that she was en route from Leesburg to Daytona Beach, and that she had left the children's car seats at home because she didn't want to strap them in while they were asleep. When a deputy mentioned that she and the kids would have probably died in the event of an accident, she said that she didn't plan on getting into a crash. During a search of the vehicle, police found narcotic pain pills called tramadol. Someone drove to the scene with the car seats and retrieved the children, while Potier was booked into custody on suspicion of child neglect and drug possession. She was released on $5,000 bond, and the case appears to be ongoing. Number 8. Speeding motorist takes car for a dip. Shortly before noon one day in February of 2024, a 2015 Lexus barreled through the exterior wall of the Courtyard Marriott Hotel in Niagara Falls and landed in the indoor pool. Employees sprang into action and helped the 61-year-old female driver out of the car along with a child passenger. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured in the unusual crash. According to law enforcement, the woman had accidentally accelerated in the moments leading up to the collision, which left the building severely damaged. When the story broke, no criminal charges had been filed. Authorities offered few details on the circumstances surrounding the accident, and updates on the case have not been forthcoming. Number 7. Felix Lopez. A typical Sunday afternoon at a Dallas fire station took a bizarre turn in April of 2021 when a young man showed up and asked questions about becoming a firefighter. Later identified as 19-year-old Felix Lopez, he had a facial wound and was wearing a mask and gloves, and something about his demeanor was clearly off. The curious visitor spoke with firefighter Paul Richter, who told NBC5 that the teen's behavior made him very uncomfortable. Firefighters also said they saw Lopez lurking around the scene of an accident and that he asked them to call 911, claiming he had been assaulted. While returning to the station after a call the next morning, they discovered that an ambulance was missing, and while they admittedly didn't see who took the vehicle, they suspected that Lopez was responsible given the previous day's bizarre events. Police spotted the ambulance a short while later. Lopez was behind the wheel, and the cops attempted to pull him over, but he refused to cooperate. He drove erratically and sped into an open field, prompting officers to call the pursuit off for safety reasons while a helicopter continued to track the ambulance from overhead. Over the next hour, several law enforcement agencies unsuccessfully tried to stop Lopez. The vehicle chase finally ended after he drove over a set of spike strips, disabling the ambulance. Lopez made a last-ditch effort to flee on foot but was swiftly apprehended. He pleaded guilty to second-degree felony theft and was sentenced to 2 years of supervision, sparing him from prison time despite his lengthy history of stealing cars. Number 6. Evan Miller. Joan Lepley was entertaining company at her home in Mifflin County, Pennsylvania on a Sunday afternoon in August of 2023, when the gathering was interrupted by an extremely loud crashing sound coming from the second floor. The walls began to shake, causing a clock and several other items to fall onto the floor. Lepley and her guests rushed outside and were shocked to discover that a Toyota sedan slammed into the second story of the home, landing on the porch roof. The driver had sped through a pasture and struck an embankment on Lepley's property, causing the car to fly over a parked vehicle before crashing into one of the home's bedrooms at over 90 miles per hour. While the collision left a large hole in the side of the house, Lepley was grateful that the car landed where it did, sparing everyone inside the residence from injury. Had the vehicle struck the house at ground level, the outcome would have likely been much more tragic. The driver, identified by police as 20-year-old Evan Miller, was reportedly in the throes of a mental breakdown and was seeing demons at the time of the crash. He was originally charged with a slew of crimes but pleaded guilty to DUI and recklessly endangering another person. Miller faces between 9 months and 2 years in prison and is currently awaiting sentencing. Number 5. Tyler Hardin. During the summer of 2023, investigators in Charlotte, North Carolina traced a stolen Jeep to a McDonald's restaurant. Officers confronted the suspect, 26-year-old Tyler Christopher Hardin of Elgin, Texas, but he was in no mood to cooperate. Clad in a cowboy hat and jeans, the shirtless man sped off, sparking a nearly 3-hour chase across Mecklenburg County. In the first of 3 carjackings that occurred during the pursuit, Hardin ditched the Jeep and stole a white pickup truck. He brought his sister along for the ride and drove to a nearby Walmart store where he crashed the truck. Hardin stole a sedan and continued to flee, leaving his sister behind in the parking lot as he weaved in and out of traffic, drove the wrong way on busy roads and drove over curbs, sidewalks, and medians at dangerously high speeds. He struck another car head-on in an intersection, totaling the stolen sedan and carjacked an SUV. The chase lasted for another 25 minutes before Hardin T-boned a pickup truck at another intersection, at which point he finally decided to surrender. Miraculously, nobody was seriously injured throughout the chase. Hardin was originally charged with 13 felonies, 8 misdemeanors, and 10 traffic violations. He pleaded guilty to felony counts of hit and run causing injury, fleeing to elude, breaking and entering, larceny, and multiple car theft charges. Records show that he's serving a 3.5-year prison sentence and will become eligible for parole in mid-2024. Number 4. Benjamin Plank. While carrying out the typically mundane task of serving an Oklahoma City resident with eviction papers in August of 2022, Sergeant Bobby Swartz and Deputy Mark Johns knocked on the door of 35-year-old Benjamin Plank but received no answer. As they went behind the house to knock on the back door, Plank shot at the deputies, killing Swartz and injuring Johns. He fled the scene in a pickup truck with a boat attached to it, marking the beginning of a high-speed multi-agency pursuit spanning 3 interstate highways. The chase reached speeds of over 100 miles per hour as police did everything in their power to stop Plank. An attempt to disable the fleeing suspect's vehicle with a pit maneuver failed, and at some point, Plank fired a gun at pursuing officers with one hand while steering his truck with the other. Ahead of the pursuit, a deputy stood along the highway median with a gun prepared to end the chase with deadly force. He fired multiple shots but failed to strike Plank or stop his vehicle. Another officer pulled up behind Plank and fired shots through his windshield at the accused cop killer, but this also failed to end the pursuit. The boat that the truck was towing could be seen wiggling back and forth, making it seem like Plank was on the verge of spinning out, but he managed to regain control of the vehicle after barreling along the highway at life-threatening speeds for nearly a half hour. He exited at an Air Force base, where he was forced to stop at the entry gate. Officers tackled him to the ground and tased him repeatedly while handcuffing him and zip-tying his ankles together. Plank faces a first-degree murder charge but was deemed incompetent to stand trial in early 2023, delaying the case indefinitely. Although he said he understood the charges against him, his attorneys claim he's delusional and that his mental issues distorted his perception of his actions. The defense also revealed that Plank believes his family members and law enforcement are conspiring against him. In June of 2024, the judge overseeing the case, ordered Plank to be forcibly medicated in an attempt to restore him to competency in hopes that the proceedings will finally move forward. Plank's legal team is appealing the order, leading to ongoing delays and leaving the future of the case uncertain. If his mental health is deemed unrestorable, he will remain in the care of a state psychiatric hospital until he's no longer deemed a threat to himself or others, potentially avoiding accountability for the murder charge. Number 3. Kyle Wagner. During the early morning hours one day in January of 2023, a Wisconsin woman awoke inside her family vehicle to a stranger behind the wheel. She had fallen asleep in the car. Earlier in the drive, and the vehicle had been stolen out of a rest stop parking lot in Columbia County while her family was inside a convenience store. Later identified as 51-year-old Kyle Wagner of Tonawanda, New York, the stranger behind the wheel was driving at dangerously high speeds. He reportedly told the victim that there was a conspiracy and that he was rescuing her from people who wanted to kill them both. Wagner refused to let the woman go, but he didn't stop her from dialing 911 and providing the dispatcher with updates on her location. In the meantime, her family members contacted police from back at the truck stop and provided the car's GPS tracking information. After driving across the county with no apparent plans to stop, Wagner ran over a set of spike strips. Several of the car's tires deflated, but the accused captor continued driving off the vehicle's rims for as long as possible. The car came to rest in a parking lot, and Wagner was taken into custody by law enforcement. In police body cam footage, the victim could be heard saying that Wagner was crazy and that he had refused to listen to anything she said. She was physically unharmed, but seemed emotionally shaken by the ordeal, and she was also extremely grateful to be out of the situation. Police located Wagner's car at the truck stop, where the victim's car had been stolen from. Inside the vehicle, they found methamphetamine. Wagner was charged with operating a vehicle without consent, false imprisonment, attempting to flee an officer, and drug possession. In August of 2023, Wagner pleaded guilty to operating a vehicle without consent and fleeing or eluding an officer. Records show that he's serving prison time with an earliest possible release date in 2027 and a maximum discharge date of 2032. Today's topic was requested by TW and Daniant8734. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Joshua Taylor Stokes. In November of 2023, 911 dispatchers in North Carolina received an alarming call from a woman claiming that she had been kidnapped in Virginia by her ex, 36-year-old Joshua Taylor Stokes, and that he was refusing to let her out of his vehicle. She mentioned that she had an order of protection against her captor stemming from previous domestic violence incidents. Police tracked Stokes' purple Dodge Challenger using phone pings and attempted to pull him over. He refused to comply and led law enforcement on a dangerous chase across 4 counties, hitting speeds of over 145 miles per hour in a 65 mile per hour zone. The pursuit finally ended when Stokes lost control of the car on a highway exit in Wake County and crashed into a guardrail. Both he and the victim sustained minor injuries, and he was arrested on suspicion of kidnapping, reckless driving, fleeing to elude, driving while impaired, and felonious restraint. At the time, Stokes was also facing criminal charges of felony fleeing to elude and reckless driving in an unrelated case out of Currituck County, North Carolina. State records show that Stokes remains held at the Wake County Jail with bond set at $300,000 as he awaits his next court hearing. Number 1. Raymond Frier. 20-year-old Cameron Troyer was driving home in Wayne County, Ohio, one morning in May of 2023 when he passed a pickup truck along a rural road. The truck driver flew into a rage and followed the young man all the way to his house in Chesterfield Township. After arriving at the residence, Troyer rushed inside and dialed 911. He told the dispatcher that the enraged motorist, later identified as 61-year-old Raymond Frier, had tried rear-ending him and running him off the road. Troyer claimed that Frier was now banging on his door and challenging him to a fight, causing him to fear for his safety. Home surveillance footage showed the suspects pulling into Troyer's driveway and looking up at the house while yelling, "Wanna have some fun?" out the driver's side window. Frier could then be heard yelling, "Come on, let's play," before exiting his truck and threatening to damage Troyer's Mustang. He then got back in his truck, did a burnout, exited the vehicle again, and announced that he had all day. When the 911 operator asked Troyer what Frier was wearing, he said that he was too scared to go near the door and look. Moments later, the suspect entered the house and continued threatening Troyer, who grabbed his rifle and aimed it at the intruder. Frier finally retreated and left the house. He challenged Troyer to shoot him, then got into his truck and sped off. When police paid Frier a visit at his house, he still seemed highly agitated about the incident. He claimed that there was an ongoing issue with drivers speeding in the area and accused Troyer of flying up and down the road at least a dozen times a day. His wife backed up his claims, threatening to take matters into her own hands if police failed to do something about the problem. An officer told the couple to calm down, but Frier continued blaming Troyer for causing him to act recklessly, and he became even more agitated when the police didn't seem to believe his claim that he did a burnout in Troyer's driveway by accident. After getting both sides of the story and viewing Troyer's security footage, police charged Frier with operation of a vehicle in willful disregard of the safety of others, trespassing, menacing, and disorderly conduct. The outcome of the case is unclear. Thanks for watching. Be sure to let us know which topic you'd like us to do next in the comments section below.